What's up, Comicbook.com? BD here. Welcome back to our studio at San Diego Comic-Con. I'm pretty excited right now because we're talking Harley Quinn with the genius brains behind the series, Justin Halpern, Patrick Schumacher. Thank you so much for coming to join us. Congratulations on... we were just talking before the camera started rolling that we talked to New York Comic Con right before the show launched, and now the show is a huge success. A couple years later, oh my God, it's been more than a couple of years.
3 years.
How is it to come back to Comic Con and have the screening last night and see the fans in person, react, watch it with everybody? Like, what is it like these days?
I mean, that's the best part.
Yeah, we were certainly concerned that because of the break, the enthusiasm would have waned, but it has not. People were like raring to go, and the show picks up like right where season 2 ended, pretty much. So yeah, I'm excited for everybody to see it.
Yeah, it's been really cool to see just like how pumped. I forgot what happened at the end of season 2, so I was like, I don't know, the fans, are they gonna remember? But they were like, yeah, I was telling him like there was a moment when with this like very minor character in the show that we created called Cheryl, who's just like Commissioner Gordon's lieutenant,
voiced by Lake Bell,
popped up in the episode, and somebody in the audience was like, Cheryl! I'm like, how the f*** you know?
Cheryl's gonna get a Funko Pop before any of the other characters.
Yeah. Should be on the shelf next year.
Yeah.
2023's Comic-Con. When you guys come to Comic-Con, is there anything that you guys look forward to or try to, like, are you collectors of anything?
Yeah, I mean, I've been a comics collector since I was 10 or so, and I come down here. I have friends on the publishing side that I don't really get to see, except for here. So that's my like opportunity to kind of reconnect with all those guys. So
I gotta ask about that comic collection. What's the one prized possession?
My prized
there?
possession. Oh my goodness.
First booster.
Oh, that's a good one. First appearance of Booster Gold.
That is a good one.
I got that one. Yeah. And then also I like to collect original art as well. I got Matias Bergara did a watercolor Poison Ivy. That is like the sort of like crown jewel of my original art collection. So yeah, our office is like all Harley Ivy stuff.
Bill Ray's stuff that he gave us too.
Bill Ray, yeah, who was the colorist on Batman the Cult, was our art director on Harley for the first 2 seasons, and he just came in one day with like all of the hand painted colors. And he was like, just pick one. I was like, what? And it had like, the acetate over it with, the inks and everything, which was, printed, but underneath it was his original colors, like physically done, which is, not, it's increasingly rare, right? So that's another one.
That's a pretty good list. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good collection. One of the best I've heard about. I've asked everybody about that. That's pretty cool. Let's talk about Harley Quinn. Harley and Ivy, full-on relationship now, and I want to hear about how that is going to change like the tone of the show, the dynamic of the show at all, that they're fully we're embracing it, they're together.
Yeah, I mean, like we were talking before, like a lot of times in sitcoms, in a will they, won't they, it's like when they get together, then the show gets and so, but I think like for our show, it felt like kind of the opposite, where once we got them together, there was suddenly all these stories we could tell that we couldn't tell before. And, I think in this season, like, we sort of, like, we're not going to break them up. We're going to show you, like, hey, here are the ups and downs that 2 sort of people in a relationship can go through, but through the lens of this crazy DC world.
It very much is Harley and Ivy show now. Like, Ivy's just the headliner right up there with her. How has that given you opportunity to explore more with Lake Bell and go deeper with the character?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of like deepening the character, this is the first time, she's always been a pretty insecure character, at least our representation of her. Mm-hmm. And so this season is going to kind of explore her coming into her own, her power set increasing, her starting to access the green. Swamp Thing becomes a character in the show in episode 305, voiced by Sam Richardson, who's amazing. And he sort of acts as a little bit of a mentor. It doesn't work out super well, but he's trying to sort of be her guru in navigating the green and in her power set increasing. It doesn't go well, but this is her arc this season is like embracing her inner villain. and as a part of that, I think the fans are gonna. We have a lot of fans who asked, will we ever see her in her sort of like classic look from the comics? And I think they're gonna be pleased at some point in the season that they'll get a little bit of a glimpse of that. But yeah, Ivy's power set really comes into its own this season.
Also, like, we spent the first 2 seasons and they were all Harley focused. It was all like Ivy sort of existed in so much as how she serviced Harley plots. And I feel like in this 3rd season we really made a point of like, okay, what does Ivy want? And that put that on equal footing of what does Harley want, like, because that was the story we want to tell. It's like 2 people who want different things and how do those things reconcile.
So you mentioned Swamp Thing. I want to hear about from both of you. Do you have a favorite DC character you got to introduce this season?
This season, I think it's Nightwing for me. And like, I love what Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo are doing in the comics right now. And I was worried because our interpretation of Nightwing is so far afield of that. And I love that run, and I know it's like beloved, but we've gone like emo, dark version of Nightwing in our show, the sort of like Titans version. It's kind of a riff on that, the whole like Batman thing. And so yeah, seeing and our Nightwing is voiced by Harvey Guillen from What We Do in the Shadows, who's hilarious. And yeah, we just wanted to have him. What would happen now that Batgirl is a part of the Bat family? What would happen with Nightwing coming back into this ecosystem that did not have Batgirl before, and feeling uncomfortable and feeling like he's being replaced? And so they have a bit of an antagonistic thing going on early on in the season. That was exciting for me.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, we didn't introduce her this season, but we definitely like blossomed her, was Nora Freeze. Just because I think it's such a funny character. Like, for us, it's like she was frozen for 20 years, and it's played so dramatically, with Mr. Freeze and her. But like, now that our thing was like, well, she's been frozen for 20 years and she still looks like she's 25. Like, she was gonna want to party, and like, and so that's what we went to. It's like this woman who's trying to like sow every oat from the last 20 years that she's missed, and also like not wanting to deal with the trauma of being frozen for 25 years, and so it's like she's just a hot mess.
Who would want to ignore that? Let's solve
exactly.
it with, we're going to throw a few back. You also introduce a real world character with James Gunn coming along. I'd love to hear about, and the level of meta that brings to a DC property now that he's over there. Yeah. How did that come to be?
Well, we knew he was a fan of the show just because he'd been like very kindly promoting it on Twitter, like a lot, without us ever having spoken. And so yeah, we followed each other on Twitter, and I thought, we had talked. We were like, okay, we're gonna do this storyline where there's a Thomas Wayne biopic called A Hard Wayne's Gonna Fall, starring Billy Bob Thornton, who voices himself, playing Thomas Wayne. And we were like, wouldn't it be funny to have, somebody like James Gunn, who has this history of like, these kind of blockbuster popcorn movies, and he's like, now I'm going legit. I'm going like, I want my awards now. And so he's directing this sort of almost like Aviator-esque, like Scorsese-esque interpretation of like the Thomas Wayne story. So I DM'd him, and like within 15 minutes he like got back to me. Like, I was shocked. He was like, yeah, I'm in, here's my reps info. And then like 2 weeks later, I got to voice direct him remotely. He was up in Vancouver shooting Peacemaker. And had him for like an hour and just knocked out everything that he has in this season. It was phenomenal, and we got to, we were pitching him alts like that. We're poking fun at Marvel. They didn't end up making the cut because it felt like it broke the world of our show. But yeah, he was a great sport. And it just came together because we shot our shot.
and it went in. It scored. I love that. I mean, after what he did to a lot of characters in Suicide Squad, I hope you guys got a little revenge, but we'll see what happens when I see that episode. he might deserve it. Captain Boomerang. All right, well, I love you. In talking with people like James Gunn, he's working on Peacemaker. Just when you're working on the show, I know that DC has so many things in different mediums: comics, video games, movies, television, animation. It's everywhere. It's always growing, and there's always new stories being told. Do you find yourselves having to collaborate with people on other projects to make sure you're not stepping on each other's toes with storylines or anything like that?
No, that's one of the really great things about working at DC on a DC property is like if you're in your own little world, like animation, like Harley's in its own animated world, like we can do whatever we want. Like I don't think they've ever said to us like, hey, we're doing this other thing in with this character and that, you can't do that here. Like,
yeah,
we never had that. Like they let you, they give you the rope to hang yourself with.
Yeah.
I have a couple questions from Twitter. This one comes from Bertz. How much of an inspiration did you get from Batman the Animated Series for these new episodes?
Well, this season in particular, episode 8, we actually were able to use some of the original artwork, the original backgrounds from Batman the Animated Series, which was nuts. Because we pitched this idea. Okay. I'm trying to figure out.
What are you trying to say?
No, I don't want to spoil anything. But let's just say we were like, hey, is it possible, Warner Brothers, to use that? And they're like, well, I don't know. Like we keep all of that. Like that stuff's like physical media, right? And they're like, we keep all that original artwork in a mine in Tennessee or something because of how it's like climate
it's called
controlled.
like Iron Mountain or something.
It's like
we're from Tennessee. I've seen those trucks.
Oh, really?
Yes, yeah.
All right. They pulled it off, and we were able to use that. But BTAS has always been. What I really would love to do at some point if we get a season 4, or if we're whatever. If we get a season 4, I'd love to do like our version of like the Almost Got Him episode of BTAS, where it's all the villains talking about how they, came very close to killing Batman, but just what's our version of that, like sort of poker table. I would love to do that.
Yeah, I mean, Batman the Animated Series, like when it came out, was just like so. I was 12, I think. It's like so different than anything else that had come out for kids. It was like you just hadn't seen anything like it.
Yeah. And we actually got to sit down with Bruce Timm in the very early stages of Harley, just to be like, hey, co-creator of Harley, like this is what we're thinking about doing, and we were super nervous, and he was just like, yeah, I like it. Okay, great.
That is legendary. That's cool. This comes from Phil the Classy Degenerate. If Nightwing is present this season while also teasing the death of Jason Todd, does that mean Red Hood is not far behind?
Well, I would just say you have to watch the episodes, because what you think might be happening to Jason Todd may not actually be happening to Jason Todd.
Okay.
Yeah. And you'll be able to watch that episode the day it launches, because we're launching the first 3 episodes.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's episode
3.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, and this one is from Dimmadude64. I like to think that's a play on Doug Dimmadome, but I don't know. Dimmadude64. This might be a spoiler. What are your favorite, your best and worst jokes that you got to write for this season? One came to mind already.
No, I'm thinking of one that they didn't we didn't do, but we tried to do.
Was Batman being generous?
Whoa, well, oh man. I'd just like to apologize for any trouble that I've caused the fine folks at DC. That joke we did not get to do, but I would say that you will very clearly see where we were going to do it. Watch the episodes. Yeah, I would say the one joke I told this before, but the one joke that I really love we didn't do because it was a little too far and too mean to Batman is when they're making that movie about Bruce Wayne, about Thomas Wayne, and so Bruce goes. You know how like when you go to the ArcLight, they'll have like the costumes in like glass cases or whatever. And so Bruce is in the lobby looking at the costumes, and for little Thomas Wayne's costume, or for little Bruce Wayne's costume, there was like piss stains on his pants because he peed himself when he saw his parents murdered, which we were like, that would happen. And and Bruce is like, why do they have to have the piss stains here?
He's like, that never happened.
He's like, it didn't happen. And then we were like, this is just so mean to Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, we were going to do like a 30-second just like montage of just like pissing happening.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and in the movie, he would pee himself just nonstop while this is happening. It got really dark. It was so if sometimes
We have lines. It may not seem like
crossed our own lines. It's towards the end of the season when your brain is not working and you're start to go real dark. So he pulled that one back.
Yeah. We can use the humor today. It's all right. Well, listen, guys, it is an absolute pleasure to speak with you guys again. Congratulations on the success of this. I'm sure we'll be back here talking about this again, hopefully next summer, but hopefully sooner than that if possible. But guys, a huge fan of your work. Everybody at Comicbook.com, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more from San Diego Comic-Con. I'm BD. I'll see you there.